Chapter 15. Dr. Donald Baines opened the door, answering the bell. Detective Harrison, his officers, Annika, and her uncle appeared on the other side. Dawn swallowed hard. "Can I help you, officers?" "Yes, you can," Detective Harrison said. "We're looking for Cameron Baines and saw his car parked out front. Is he here?" "Yes, but what's wrong? Is there a problem?" "We have a warrant for his arrest." "What?" They pushed past him, marching toward a stunned Cameron. Annika remained silent, shooting a glare in Cameron's direction. "Detective, what are you doing?" Dawn questioned. "This is a mistake." "Murder is always a mistake, Doc." Detective Harrison had the cuffs around Cameron's wrists before he even knew what happened. "Cameron Baines, you're under arrest for the murder of Richard and Vanessa Vienta and the attempted murder of Annika Vienta." "What?" Cameron stuttered. "What are you talking about?" "We caught the shooter who tried to kill Annika a few months back, and he confessed he had been hired by Dr. Baines." Detective Harrison shot a hard look at Cameron. "You hired him to prevent Annika from discovering that you killed her parents." "Okay, that is ridiculous," Dawn butted in again. "He was with Annika at the time of the shooting, which explains why the shooter didn't try to kill him. Also, we have on record that Cameron didn't even call for an ambulance when she was shot. A bystander did that." "I told the bystander to make the call while I attended to Annika," Cameron explained. "Why would I try to kill Annika? I've been helping her." "You were only helping to lead her off the right track," Detective Harrison said. "And when you failed to kill her, you tried to frame Maxwell Collins to take the fall. There's no way you're getting off. Let's go. You have the right to remain silent." "Dad!" Cameron wrestled with the restraints in vain, looking helplessly back at his father. "I promise I didn't do this. You know I love her." Donald's eyes were full of tears, yet he remained silent. "Dad, please help me!" Donald put up a hand. "Detective, no! You can't do this!" But Detective Harrison was already shoving Cameron outside. "Name me one good reason." "Because Cameron did not kill them! I did!" Everyone froze. Cameron's face was a mask of horror. Annika covered her mouth with a quivering hand, eyes wet. A full beat of heavy silence passed until Donald sighed. "I killed Richard and Vanessa." He walked over to his safe, beginning to enter the combination. "I won't let my son go to prison for something I did." Opening the door, he reached in and removed the plans for HPX 200. "I took some of Rich's serums and the plans for them after I killed him." Annika was crying now. Isaac was shaking with anger. "You killed my brother and my sister-in-law?" "Dad, why?" Cameron asked for everyone. Donald stared at the floor. "Because of Carla, your mother, my sweet wife. She was dying slowly, a terrible death. I couldn't stand to watch her wasting away little by little. She was running out of time, I was running out of money. So in order to pay for her treatments, I had to start selling drugs. Somehow, Rich found out about it, and he was going to turn me in. I begged him to give me more time, but he refused. When he turned away, something in me just snapped." His eyes grew wide, reliving the horrid memory. "I know what you've been doing," Rich stated. "I know you've been selling your prescription drugs on the side. What I don't know is why." Dawn turned away. "Why are you doing this?" Rich asked him. A painful whisper. "For Carla." Pause. "How could this have anything to do with Carla? I need the money to pay for her treatments. I can't afford it anymore." "What about insurance?" "They've stopped covering," Donald told him, running a trembling hand down his face. "I'm so deep in debt, I had to find some other means of making money." He blinked, the weight of it sinking in. "Dawn, I'm so sorry." Rich gripped his shoulder. "Listen, I will do whatever I can to help you. I'll loan you some money. You'll run out of money, out of hope, just like we did." "Rich, I don't have a choice. We always have a choice," he stated, "to do what's right. It's just not always going to be the easiest thing to do." "You think this is easy for me?" Dawn exploded at Rich's calm answer. "Selling drugs out of my own business? Watching the woman I love slowly dying with no hope in sight? Dawn, I can't begin to imagine what you're going through, but nothing justifies what you're doing." He sighed heavily in defeat. "All right. What do you want?" "What?" Rich whispered. "What do you want in order to keep silent?" "All I want is for you to stop, for everyone's sake." "Would Carla want you to do this for her?" "She doesn't know." She wouldn't understand, just like you don't. Look, Rich said, I will go with you to turn yourself in. They'll reduce your sentence if you cooperate. No. If Carla found out, the shock alone would kill her. She's so fragile. Dawn turned to him in desperation. I can't lose her, Rich. She means too much to me. Rich's eyes mirrored the tears in his friend's, but his voice was level, gentle, yet filled with conviction. If she really meant that much to you, you would stop because you know she wouldn't approve. This gives me no pleasure, Dawn, but I'm giving you 1 day to confess. If not, then I will have to tell. I'm sorry, but I won't let you do this anymore. You can't do this to us, he shouted. If you stop me, if you turn me in, she's going to die. Carla's death will be on your conscience. Her blood will be on your hands. He took a deep breath, attempting to calm down. If Vanessa was dying, you'd do anything you could to save her, wouldn't you? Yes, of course, but not if it meant doing something wrong. You can't say that when you haven't experienced it. You have no idea what we're going through. You're going against everything that White Coat stands for, Rich said firmly. I will do no harm. Yeah? What about Carla? His voice grew louder, his eyes more wild. I'm trying to save her, and you're trying to stop me. Dawn, no matter what, we have to always do what's right in God's eyes. We have to accept his will, even if it means losing a loved one. Donald turned to Annika. I did it to save my wife. I couldn't let your parents stop me. I stole HPX 200 and a couple other serums that night because I didn't want all the research and medicine to go to waste. But it was perfectly fine for you to waste my parents' lives, Annika choked. You were his business partner, his friend. You're a doctor, supposed to save lives, not take them. I didn't mean to kill him. But once I realized I'd hit him with the hammer, realized what I'd done, I knew I had to kill Vanessa as well. She came in shortly after, I guess hearing our argument. I hid behind some cabinets when she went to check on Rich, and I got rid of her the same way. I dumped the benzene that was in the lab all over everything to destroy any proof he might have had of my dealings and to cover up what I'd done. When you started investigating right away, I was nervous, but I was sure there was nothing to find. I wanted you to stop, so eventually, when everyone forgot, when the time was right, I could pass off Rich's serums as my own, give them to the world. But when you started investigating all the more because of Cameron's assistance, and with him being so close to me, I knew it was just a matter of time before I slipped and gave it away. I had to stop you. I put Epicac in your food the night you came for dinner, trying to get you to quit for your health's sake. Cameron was becoming more incensed by the minute. That's why she got sick that night? I was trying to discourage her from continuing to investigate. When you told me you were going to talk to Maxwell, I broke into her apartment and sprayed the message on her wall the day after, trying to make it seem he was a guilty party. And when that didn't scare either of you away, I hired the shooter. Somehow he missed. Detective Harrison watched him in disgust. It's terrible enough that you tried to kill Annika, but do you know how easily he could have hit your own son? I told him to be careful, Dawn answered, but I was only after the girl. When he failed, I realized I'd have to plant some hard evidence on Maxwell to end this. The only way to stop you, Annika, was to give you the answer you'd been looking for. I planted some of Rich's plans for a new serum in Maxwell's closet. I didn't care if Maxwell got off or not. I just didn't want there to be any hint of suspicion that could fall on me. That thought was the furthest from my mind, Annika stated, until Cameron said he was cured by XPX 200. No one could have had access to that serum except the killer, because Dad hadn't had the chance to show it to anyone yet. Everyone thought anything missing had been destroyed in the fire. Detective Harrison clipped the cuffs on the doctor's wrists. Also, that entry in Rich's phone calendar wasn't Deb for Debbie. It was initials. Your initials, Donald Edward Baines. Donald shook his head, defeated. When Cameron slipped into that coma, I knew I had to make a choice. Save my son, and risk anyone seeing HPX 200 and connecting the dots, or wait and hope for a miracle. But I gave up on hope a long time ago when I couldn't lose my son. Cameron had a supportive arm around Annika. When Annika told me she knew you were the killer, I didn't believe it. I kept hoping, praying that all the evidence was just a coincidence. Donald's lifeless gray eyes went to Cameron. After my saving you, you planned this. You set up your own father. Cameron swallowed the fury and sorrow rising in his throat. You have no right to be angry after all the wrongs you've done. It was the only way we could get you to confess. But Dad, you don't know how badly I wanted her to be wrong. Dr. Donald Baines, Detective Harrison began, leading him away. You're under arrest for the murders of Richard and Vanessa Vienta, the attempted murder of Annika Vienta. Annika stood there, still as a statue. Cameron and her uncle were both numb, but they held her, went to their knees, and cried together. Annika sat across from Detective Harrison. She had just come from the grand jury's office, and to her relief, they had no-billed her case concerning the shooting of the mugger. She wouldn't have to stand trial. Thank you, Lord, for your everlasting mercy, just like the waves. Detective Harrison hung up the phone. That was the DA. Looks like Maxwell Collins will be sent to an alcoholic rehabilitation center. Oh, that's good. I'm glad he's finally getting the help he needs. He seemed surprised at her forgiving response, but continued. And, with Donald Baines' full confession, I'm sure he'll be sentenced to life imprisonment. He paused. You and Cameron holding up okay? She nodded slowly. Yeah. We're helping each other. Praying a lot. In a way, we've both lost both of our parents. But God's healing us. I feel it. He smiled. That's great, kid. I'm happy for you. You seem different. You seem at peace. Just like Cameron is. I am. She smiled back. Thank you, Detective, so much for all your help, for not giving up. She felt the tears building. Thank you, she repeated. I can't say that enough times. He stood and shook her hand, placing his other hand on top of it. It was my pleasure, Annika, really. I wish you well. Moving around the desk, Annika gave him a hug. Sometimes a handshake just wasn't enough. A week later, Annika stood in the pool with her pastor and her Uncle Isaac. Cameron, their church family, Aunt Sylvia, and even Jake and Crystal stood around the water's edge, witnessing this beautiful moment, Annika's baptism. She held her breath, felt the water, Jesus' blood, cover her. She was lifted up out of the grave. Everyone cheered and clapped, and Annika was certain she could hear the angels celebrating with them. Cameron helped her out of the water and held her close. Everyone got in line to hug her as they began to sing songs of praise. And this time, Annika sang out loud with her whole heart. Now she was allowing the struggles to strengthen her faith, not weaken it. She began to start spending more time with friends and family, letting them help instead of pushing them away. Annika continued to do her best to become a blessing rather than look for one. And in doing that, she learned blessings were all around. After she changed clothes, Annika found Cameron in the crowd and pulled him aside. Cameron, you're never going to believe who just called me. Curiosity battled with excitement in his eyes. Who? She smiled. Your mom. She's had a change of heart and wants to meet with you. His jaw dropped. What? Are you serious? Yes, congrats, Cam. She wrapped her arms around him again. As he returned the hug, Annika realized God had given them the answers they had been looking for when the time was right. Cameron and Annika knelt by the Vienta tombstone, laying the flowers down. And though tears still escaped Annika's eyes, it wasn't like it used to be. Now she was filled with a hope and a peace, a special closeness to the Lord that she had never felt before. Someday, along this journey, she'd meet him face to face and see her parents again. But here in Cameron's embrace, heaven didn't seem too far away. The end. All right. Feel free to pause the video if you want to read this, the acknowledgments and the author bio. That's it. We finished. We finished the book. That's the end of the book. That's the end of my first book, The Change in the Winds. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got a blessing out of it. I hope that God revealed himself to you through it. This was really fun. I really enjoyed doing this. Probably next week I'm going to upload the audiobook as one video, so it'll be easier to share with people. Feel free to Share with your friends, and if you'd like a physical copy, I have them available on eBay, or just leave a comment down below and just mail you a copy. Oh, and I will be getting back to doing my normal bookish videos, and then later I will do an audiobook for my second book, Eye of the Storm. Thank you so much, and God bless you.